Namaste, I am JVN. I am working as Associate Professor in Botany in JYOTI VIDYAPEETH Women's University, Jaipur. I am JVN Dr. ANUPAMA GOYAL and I am working as Associate Professor in Botany in JYOTI VIDYAPEETH Women's University, Jaipur. Today I will deliver my lecture on the fungus Penicillium, and this lecture will be very beneficial for the students studying in UG undergraduate as well as in PG postgraduate classes. So I start my lecture with the fungus Penicillium. First of all, I will talk about the systematic position of the fungus as per of the fungus Penicillium. Well, kingdom is Mycota, division is Eumycota, and the subdivision is Ascomycotina. Class is Plectomycetes. Order Uroshiales, and it is also called as Aspergillales. And now the family is Uroshiaceae. Family is Uroshiaceae. It is also known as Aspergillaceae. Now I talk about the occurrence and distribution of Penicillium. Well, Penicillium is commonly known as blue or green mold. Over 100 species of Penicillium are distributed all over the world. The genus derives its name from the Latin word penicillus, which means artist brush, as the structure of its conidiophore resembles to that of a artist brush. Now the species of Penicillium are saprophytes, and they are found growing on rotten fruits, vegetables, meats, and other foodstuffs, and on textiles, leather, paper, etc. So, Penicillium divaricatum causes decay of wood, whereas Penicillium rubrum and Penicillium purpurogenum are responsible for the spoilage of paper and paper products. So students, now you can say what are the species of Penicillium which are responsible for the spoilage of paper: the Penicillium rubrum and Penicillium purpurogenum. They spoil the paper. Now I talk about the Penicillium citrinum. Penicillium citrinum is one of the common causes of fungus fouling of optical instruments, and Penicillium digitatum, Penicillium italicum, and Penicillium chrysogenum are the source of antibiotic penicillin, the first wonder drug of the world. So, students, from the Penicillium fungus, we obtained the antibiotic named penicillin. Now, Penicillium roqueforti is used in the hydrolysis of fats and for flavoring of cheese. And Penicillium chrysogenum and Penicillium vitae are used as a source of the enzyme glucose oxidase, which is used in ferment technology and food industry. Now I talk about the vegetative structure of the fungus Penicillium. Well, the mycelium in Penicillium is profusely branched and septate, and is composed of thin-walled uninucleate to multinucleate hyphal cells. There is a central pore in each septum through which the cytoplasm of the adjacent cells remains continuous. The mycelium of penicillium grows superficially, but some hyphae may penetrate deeper into the substratum to absorb the food materials. Now the hyphae are hyaline and colorless in vegetative phase, but their walls develop pigments in the reproductive phase. The reserve food is in the form of oil globules. So this can come in the multiple choice question. What is the reserve food in the fungus penicillium? You say the reserve food is in the form of oil globules. In some species of penicillium, the mycelium becomes heterokaryotic as a result of anastomosis between the two mycelia. Some species of penicillium form compact, discrete, thick-walled pseudoparenchymatous structure known as sclerotia. These are sclerotia. Now I talk about the reproduction in the fungus penicillium. Well, how the penicillium reproduces? Penicillium reproduces by vegetative, asexual and sexual means. First of all, students, I will like to talk about the vegetative reproduction in the fungus Aspergillus. So, vegetative reproduction in the fungus Aspergillus takes place by fragmentation. So, in fragmentation, the mycelium breaks into small fragments by injury or by any other reason. Each fragment is capable to develop into a new mycelium. Now I talk how the asexual reproduction occurs in the fungus penicillium. So, asexual reproduction takes place by the formation of non-motile spores, and these non-motile spores are called as conidia. The conidia are formed in long basipetal chains on specialized branches called as conidiophores. So, conidiophores, conidia are formed in penicillium. Now, asexual reproduction takes place by the formation of non-motile spores known as conidia. The conidia are formed in long basipetal chains. The conidiophore arises as an erect branch from any cell of the mycelium, and now the conidiophores divide 1, 2 or 3 times, forming the branches of different orders. The ultimate branches are known as medullae. Medullae, a cluster of flask-shaped sterigmata. Flask-shaped sterigmata, also called as phyalites, develop at the tip of each medullae. In some of the species of penicillium, for example, Penicillium expansum, the medullae are also formed on small branches of the conidiophores, which are known as rami. In Penicillium, claviformi, many conidiophores aggregate to form a compound club-shaped fructification called as corymbium. Now, the conidia formed on the corymbium are known as corymiospores. So, students, what are corymiospores? The conidia which are formed on the corymbium are known as, are called as corymiospores. And now I talk about the development of conidia in the fungus Penicillium. So, look, the tip of the sterigma swells a little, and at the same time its nucleus divides to form two daughter nuclei, and now one of the daughter nuclei migrates into the swollen tip of the sterigma, and then this portion separates from the rest of the sterigma by the formation of a septum. In this way, a uninucleate conidium is formed. The tip of the sterigma below the first formed conidium elongates and the nucleus divides, and the second conidium is now formed in the same way as the first conidium. This process of conidium formation is repeated several times, and as such a chain of conidia is formed. The youngest conidium is at the base of the chain, and the oldest conidium is at the tip of the chain. So, students, the conidia develop in basipetal succession. What do we understand by the term basipetal succession? It means the conidium, the youngest conidium, is at the base of the chain, and the oldest conidium develops at the tip of the conidiophore. Now, I talk about the germination of conidia in the fungus Penicillium. The conidium is an oval, globose, pyriform or elliptical structure. Its outer wall is smooth, delicately roughened, verticillate or striate with irregular ridges. So, conidia are green, blue or yellow in color, or they may be hyaline. These conidia are dispersed by wind and they germinate on a suitable substratum. The nucleus of the conidium divides repeatedly, and then a germ tube arises from the conidium. A germ tube arises from the conidium. All nuclei migrate into the germ tube. As the germ tube elongates, formation of septa takes place. In this way, a new mycelium is formed. Now see, this is the diagram showing the asexual reproduction in conidium. It shows the asexual reproduction in conidium. So this is the conidiophore. Look at the diagram, students, and on the tip of the conidiophore a number of medullae are formed, and above the medullae the sterigmata are formed, and the sterigmata which are flask shaped, as you see in the diagram. Above the sterigma, these what are formed? Conidia are formed. Now these conidia are released, and when these conidia are dispersed by the wind, as you see in the diagram, in the D diagram, the conidium forms a germ tube, as you see in the D diagram. Now this germ tube gives rise to a complete mycelium, as you see in the E diagram. Now I talk about the sexual reproduction in the fungus Penicillium? Well, the sexual reproduction has been studied in some species of Penicillium. They show a gradual reduction in sexuality. They show a gradual reduction in sexuality. Both the male and female sex organs are functional in most of the species of Penicillium, but in some species, for example, Penicillium vermiculatum, although both the sex organs are present, but the Anthridium does not take part in the sexual process. The nuclei of the ascogonium fuse in pair to form ascogenous hyphae. In others, Penicillium striatum sex organs do not develop at all. So there is one of the species of Penicillium called as Penicillium striatum, in which the sex organs do not develop, and these species show the phenomenon of somatogamy, where fusion of morphologically similar hyphae takes place. So in Penicillium vermiculatum, the male sex organ is known as Antheridium and the female sex organ is called as ascogonium. So now the students, the question arises, what is the name of the male sex organ in Penicillium? The name of the male sex organ is Antheridium, and the question is also, what is the name of the female sex organ in the fungus Penicillium? The female sex organ is called as ascogonium. Both develop on the same hyphae or on two adjacent hyphae of the same mycelium. Now I talk about the ascogonium and Anthridium in the fungus Penicillium. Well, ascogonium develops as an erect unicellular branch from any cell of the mycelium. The young ascogonium is binucleate, but the nucleus undergoes repeated mitotic divisions as the ascogonium matures. Thus, a mature ascogonium has 32 or 64 daughter nuclei and it remains unicellular. Now I talk about the Antheridium. Following the initiation of ascogonium, an antheridial branch develops from the same hypha on which ascogonium is initiated. As the Antheridium grows, it coils spirally around the ascogonium. So, thank you for listening me with patience. In the next class, I will continue with the fertilization in the fungus as Penicillium. Thank you.